Welcome to Why Should I Carry a Pop Culture Podcast. I'm Anthony Bain, as always with my friend, Jeremy Williams. And today we have the pleasure of speaking with comedian Mark Normand. So many great things out there. Tuesdays with Stories, Still Got It, Don't Be Yourself, and the great special Out to Lunch. And if you haven't watched that yet, you need to stop watching this and watch that immediately. Let's get into it.
Why should I care? Well, you really should.
Comedy, huh?
Great!
We're really doing it, folks.
But thank you so much, Mark, for being here.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Anthony. Good to see you.
Well, thank you for being here. And I wanted to kind of talk to you about your comedy discipline, because it seems like you have, just such a process and love for the craft, and it shows in what you do, because you expertly are able to navigate through some pretty serious topics like racism, pedophilia, and you do it in such a way where, you can tell that you just want to be understood.
Yeah.
And is that something that you've always had a hunger for, even before doing comedy?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's kind of probably where it all comes from. I feel like I have these thoughts and then I bring it up and people go, huh? What? And it's weird. I don't want to sound like a douche here, but like, what was the guy? Was it Galileo who was like, hey, the earth is round? Everybody's like, put this guy in a mental hospital. And you're like, you hear that now and you're like, well, that's crazy. He was on to something. He was right. They were the idiots. And not saying I'm Galileo, I'm nowhere near it. But I'm just saying, like, I felt like that. I totally get that. I'm obsessed with these random thinkers. I watched this World War II documentary, and the gangrene was this huge epidemic in World War I or whatever it was. And one of the guys was like, I'm not getting gangrene. So he stabbed his bayonet in the leg of a guy who was gangrene infected, and he cut his leg and he put it right in. And everybody's like, what are you, crazy? Are you nuts? You're giving yourself gangrene. And he never got it because his body built an immunity to it. And sometimes I like that the exact wrong thing can sometimes be the most right thing. And I like that about comedy. You can say this crazy thing and back it up with laughter, and you're like, shit, that sounded horrific, but you're right. So that's a long answer for what I was getting at.
No, I love that. I think, one thing about your jokes too is, in my opinion, you seem to create a feeling along with an understanding. I think your bit about having a gay son with the onion rings and finding the French fry is a great example.
Oh, thanks.
Is that, as far as a joke writer, because I think you're just one of the best out today doing it. Were you always, let me see, were you always attracted to writing before doing comedy, just in general?
I never really thought to write, but I always was trying to get thoughts out of my head, whether it was talking into a dumb tape player as a kid or writing something down. But that term writing is so tough because you say writing, which is literally writing on a piece of paper with a pen or typing. But writing is just thinking and thoughts. The actual written stuff is so different from actually coming up with material. So it's weird how we call it writing, but writing is the last of it. That's just it. Writing is more collecting it and documenting it. What we call writing is really just thinking. I remember Roy Wood Jr., they were like, when do you write? You're so busy. How do you have time to write? He's like, I'm in the shower. I'm writing. I'm eating lunch. I'm writing. Because you're like, what's up with tacos? Or what's up with loofahs? You're writing. That's what writing is. But we call it writing. But it's so confusing because writing means scribbling on a pad or whatever. So, yeah, I always was thinking about shit and had fun ideas. And I made little movies as a kid because I didn't think I could write my own jokes, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, always trying to have an outlet and get shit out of my head and put it down somewhere. Another long, horrible answer. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to give you something.
No, I got it, man.
Again, see how confusing I am. This is why I like stand-up, because you can get your thoughts out and then tweak them until they're said clearly. So you're seeing the early stages, a lot of rough drafts here.
Well, you seem to be able to do a barrage of jokes. I remember when I sent my dad your special because I loved it so much. And
thanks. Wow.
And he goes, "Holy shit! There's just like a barrage of jokes. It's like machine gun fire. He's trying to kill me."
Yeah.
And you've been able to throughout your career build up to even going to the cellar. And I remember I was reading something about what it takes to be a cellar comic, and I think he said something to the effect of that it takes a bit of aggressiveness. And what do you think it does take to? Because you've talked about the different approaches between LA and New York. Do you think New York comics have a tendency to want to get out there and kill? Versus LA comics?
I mean, look, it's a huge generalization, but I think that's how people argue, is in generalizations. So I'm gonna do some lumping. Obviously, there's exceptions to this example, but I think a lot of people move to New York to be a good comic and get good at it and learn and see the best and get up and perform. And I think a lot of people move to LA to get discovered or to make it, and not saying there's not good comics in LA, and not saying there's not people in New York who went there to make it. Exceptions, but I think in New York, it's all about just like, wow, I want to kill as hard as that person, or I want to write a joke as good as that lady or that guy or whatever it is. So I don't see a lot of that. I don't see as much of that in LA. So I think New York has competition. What's that?
The healthy competition of it all.
Healthy competition, and just love of the quality of the stand-up. Like, oh, I want my act to be that good. In LA, it's like, oh, I want that TV show he's got, or I want that outfit he's got on. And look, no, to each his anal. You can do whatever the hell you want. I'm just saying, I see a lot more of that in New York.
Got it.
He's got a lot of followers. He's rich. I want that. I feel like that's a more LA vibe.
Well, I think you've been quoted as saying, to gravitate towards the weird and don't let the audience decide who you are. When do you think
say that?
I remember hearing you say that. I think
that's pretty good
on a pod. It's pretty good. When do you think you came to that realization? Because I remember that you were quoted as saying you had kind of a Seinfeld rhythm at one point of your career.
Big time. I think it's the same with that Galileo thing. Like, you watch a guy like Jeselnik, who's so funny and so different, and he bombed quite a bit. I mean, and rightfully so. He's talking about dead babies up there. He's this handsome blonde guy talking about dead babies in front of a bunch of moms in Missouri. So they're like, what the hell is this? But he knew it was good, and he just kept going. And I think there's something to that. Like, obviously, you want the crowd to enjoy your show and laugh at it, but you also have to every now and then go, look, I want you guys to be entertained, and I want to be a good performer and all that, but like, I'm right and you're wrong here. Because, you can let the audience sculpt your whole act. If you go, that got a laugh, that didn't, get rid of that. But every now and then you got to say, no, I'm holding on to that and going to press on until you see what I'm saying. So the audience is basically a focus group, and you can use them to sculpt your act, but don't use them all the way. You still have to be behind the driver's steering wheel there. So once you get a little more into it, a little better, I think you got to realize, like, hey, this is I'm driving this car. Like, I want you to have a good time and a good ride, but we're going where I'm going. And I think you'll like it if you just trust me, you twats. But sometimes people don't get there. Does that make sense? I'm getting no reaction out of it. I have no idea if any of this is hitting home.
No, it makes perfect sense. I'm taking it all in because,
all right.
As far as your craft and the way that you are able to put things together and show your perspective, I have a lot of respect for it. So I feel like you're taking me to school a little bit because I'm a comic, and I feel like school. I think we're probably the same age. I'm 36.
Yeah, 37.
But I'm pretty new to the game, and I've been doing podcasting, and I love doing comedy, but you've kind of shared some of these gems. Like I remember you talking about touring with Louis, and he said, anything personal is going to be, the best approach to your jokes.
I have a joke that it's old as shit. It's probably 8 years old now, but it was one of those hard jokes to write. It took a million twists and turns, and I had to figure it out over many months. Finally got it. Do it on Conan. It does okay. It's a bit of an abstract bit, but now I put it on YouTube Shorts. It's about to hit 1 million views in a week or something because I think it's an interesting idea. And it was this joke about how gay people or Jewish people must be jealous of gay people because Jewish people are all about reproducing, so they got to keep banging each other. But gays reproduce, and they don't even reproduce. You're like, no, you know what I'm saying? There's gays keep popping up, but they can't reproduce. There's no gay through line. It just comes up randomly. So that's a pretty out there idea for a bit, and it took forever to get right. But my point is that joke wasn't working, and I made it personal. I lied and said I dated this Jewish girl, and she wouldn't marry me because I'm not Jewish. So the joke wasn't working until I made it personal. So he's completely right there.
I know you went to New York Film School, and since you released everything on YouTube for this latest special, was it nice to have that creative control?
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge rejection from every network and all that. So once you got over that, and then you just said, "Fuck it, I'm doing it myself. I'm putting it on YouTube." It was a big relief. Like, oh, I'm going to do it how I want. If you don't have a hand in it, it hurts. It hurts my feelings, but at least I can do it the way I want to do it. And now I'm so glad it's on YouTube.
For sure, the people have spoken. Everybody loves it. So great job.
It's a great feeling. That's really the ultimate feeling. If Netflix or HBO picks it up, you're like, ooh, that feels good. They like me. I'm accepted. But the 6 million views is way better than that shit. Who cares what HBO thinks when you want the people anyway? So I got the people, so I can't complain. I'm elated over the response and surprised.
Do you have any aspirations to do anything through TV? Because I think just your talking about growing up with your nanny that you had, Enos, the transvestite nanny. That I just imagine you guys like doing a montage like Rocky III, running down the sand, and him teaching you how to be a man.
Yeah. Again, you'd love to have TV. See, this is what's great about TV. I think is dying. I think it's almost like radio, where it's just kind of fizzling out. You see some kid on TikTok, he's got like 80 million followers, and you're like, why would he ever go to a network? He's got this. But here's what's great about TV is they do everything for you. They have the cameraman, they have editors, they have lighting, they have promoting, they have advertising. So like, you just go in and do your shit and leave. That's what's great about TV. Otherwise, you got to shoot it yourself, put it out, edit it, whatever. So I would like to do something with TV, but again, I don't. Also, part of me is like, if I send them an idea and they pick it up, are they going to ruin it like they do with their dumb notes and their critiquing, and they have to feel like they have a job, so they have to slide in with some change, and you're like, that change ruined the whole show, but you had to feel important, so now the show is ruined, yada, yada. So that Enos show, I get 17 people a day telling me, that's a show, where's that show? And I go, nobody will buy it, go yell at them. So I might just shoot it.
You should.
Yeah, it's just going to cost
Terry
money,
Crews,
it's
man.
a risk. What's that?
I said get Terry Crews on.
Oh, I would love that. I just won't grab his sack. I don't know if you heard about that story.
I did not.
Oh,
Please.
Some guy grabbed his balls at a party as a joke, and he like sued him.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah, which was crazy because that was my whole high school experience, was just guys grabbing my package and twisting it. But it's a different time, God. I guess.
And then you had your experience with the prostitute at 16.
Yes. Somebody recently was like, hey, you're a pedophilia survivor. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, you were 16, she was 50. That's illegal. I was like, oh, yeah. I never even crossed my mind. Thought it was a funny story.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about your work ethic because, hearing about you going and doing 4 and 5 mics a night, and what you went through in New York, being mugged and having to deal with all that, where did you get that resilience? Do you think that that's something you've always had within you, that drive, or is it just your love for comedy?
I don't know where. That's a good question. I don't know where it came from. It was just felt like something I had to do because there's so much entitlement in showbiz world. These people like, when am I going to get this? And why haven't I been tapped on the shoulder? And when's my sitcom? And I'm like, why? I have the opposite. I'm like, why would anyone put me on a show? So I was like, it's like this Zoom. Nobody wants to do this Zoom, but I'm doing it because I'm like, I can't say no. And who the hell am I to tell you no? You're a nice guy. Why shouldn't I do it? Who the fuck am I? So some guy goes, hey, you want to do my show on Thursday? And I go, I already got 2 shows, but yeah, I'm doing the show. So yeah, I'll go do it and I'll run around. And it was hell. And I was in cabs, I'm in trains, I'm jumping around the city. And people go, why do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. He booked me. And also, let's say you want to learn the guitar. You can pick up that guitar, you can play for 4 hours a day, then you put it down. Comedy, you need a venue, an audience, a working microphone, all this shit, a host and a producer. So like, if somebody's willing to put that show on, I'm going to go use it to get better because you need 10,000 hours to be an expert. You're not going to get 10,000 hours by just sitting around. So you got to go do it. It's not like picking up a guitar where I can just play. This guy set this whole thing up. I'm going to use it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Definitely.
Piano, you can just play all day, but this, you need so many elements have to fall into place to be practicing comedy. So This guy put a show together. I'm doing it. I need to get those reps. For
sure. And you've said too that, being realistic about it all is a big asset.
Yes.
How do you stay grounded and stay realistic?
I don't know. I think realistic is the default. That's where you want to be. You see these people on the internet and they're just like, can you believe this? And the world is going to blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, where the hell are you living? I got to pay the rent. I hope people don't hate me. I need money. I want my girlfriend to like me. I want to get laughs. Like, I don't know what world these people are living in. Like, reality should be the default. We live in this world now where reality is edgy. Like some lady's like, big is beautiful. And you're like, so why are you trying to lose weight for your wedding day? Are you lying to me? Or are you lying to yourself? What are we doing here? So stuff like that. I'm like, you're not even living in reality, or you're just lying to yourself. And then when I question it, I'm the asshole. Like, I don't know. So it's all very strange. So yeah, I think people should live in reality more. And I'm a nobody. I'm lucky to do this show. So I'm going to do the show.
Definitely.
There's a little psycho in there too. Don't get me wrong, but it's a show. I'm going to do it. I want to get the stage time.
For sure. And I think, you summed it up pretty well. You've been quoting a saying, success won't make you happy, but quality of work will. And how do you
that's a great quote. That doesn't sound like me.
I think you do have a quality of work. Do you have it in you to be able to look back and appreciate it, or is it hard to not look at it with a critical eye?
It's tough. It's always tough, and it's a horrible quality of mine. I should be going, hey, out to lunch is killing it. Enjoy that. Feel good about that. You accomplished something. But I'm like, the next one, what if it's not as good? And I got to write some new material, and I need more jokes. And I'm just panicking about the future of all these imaginary things that haven't even happened yet, when I should just be staring at those YouTube views and pat myself on the ass. But I don't know. It's just how some people are wired, I guess. And then some people go the opposite, where they think, they tie their shoe and they're like, man, I'm fucking great. I'm the man. I'm cool as shit. Everybody loves me. I tied my shoe. I'm so awesome. So I need to be somewhere between where I am and that guy. And just meet in the middle. So I'm working on all that.
Oh yeah, it's that evil brain you talked about.
Evil brain. Yeah. Horrible.
It's probably the most relatable comedy bit I've ever heard.
Thanks. And that bit bombed for a while. Gary Gulman was the one who was like, stick with that bit. I know it didn't hit, but stick with that bit. And that kept me going because he's such a good comic.
Yeah, and I think you had said a Todd Barry quote where he had said, keep the jokes tight and the set loose.
Yeah, another great quote.
I think you do that beautifully, man.
Oh, thanks. Come on, you're making me feel weird.
I know you've been to Austin, Texas a few times. That's where we're based out of. And I
Ah,
know you've, gone to Rogan and did you see Chappelle while he was here too?
I didn't. I got my girlfriend tickets to the show, but I had a show, so I couldn't go.
I heard you saying that you tried to go to the after party though. Is that right?
Yeah, I couldn't get in because I wasn't tested within like 24 hours. I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
I literally got tested 2 days ago. I did Rogan, and they were like, "Oh, you did it 2 days ago, huh?" I was like, "Yeah," and they're like, "No dice." And I did see Michelle Wolf. She's like, "Get in here!" I'm like, "Ah, I can't." And they kicked me out, and I get it. They're just playing safe than sorry. But hey, Chappelle got COVID anyway.
Yeah,
Why
you
not be
dodged the
for
bullet.
me? Yeah.
So talking about success though, with everything you've accomplished up to this point, what would it take for you to feel successful?
Good question. I don't know, because I got this special that's got good numbers and people seem to enjoy it, and I get nice messages about it, and I'm a working comedian and I'm selling tickets. So yeah, I guess I am successful. I'm happy. You ever seen the movie Comedian with Seinfeld?
Yes.
Okay, so there's this movie. It's about Jerry coming back to stand up, and then this young guy, Orny, who's like a young
Okay.
comic, up and coming, whatever. And I remember watching that as a new comic, 22, 23 years old, going, why is this guy complaining? He's passed at every comedy club. He lives in New York City. He's running around town doing shows all night. He knows Jerry Seinfeld. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? He's living a dream. And I still feel that way. I'm like, every now and then I have to put myself in check. Like, whoa! You got a hot special. You're doing the road. You have a couple fans. Like, enjoy this. Stop going, what about the TV show? And what about Netflix? Yeah, just, you're a working comic. That's making it.
For sure. And getting some love from Jerry Seinfeld too and being able to open for him. So fantastic, man.
That's the fun stuff. We can jerk each other off all day. HBO wants to do this, but having a bunch of views on a special and him saying he likes my act is like, to me, that means more than anything else.
Definitely, man. And it's probably a dream come true, I'm sure.
Unbelievable. The whole thing's unbelievable. It's very surreal. I'll watch that video every now and then like, wow, I can't believe this happened. And they can never take it away from me. You can kill my mom or cut my dick off or cancel me or whatever it is, but I still got that video and I can play it on loop all day.
So what special knocked your head off? I know you had said in an interview before that In Living Color was a surprising influence like Damon Wayans.
Oh, I used to love Damon Wayans.
And me too, man. He's so cool. And his confidence and all the characters were fantastic. Was there, I know you also like Groucho Marx, but was there a particular special that you watched that just blew your head off when you watched it?
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, for the last time was huge. The Seinfeld special that came out, I don't know, 01 maybe, whatever that was, 99, 2000. Because we all knew this guy as this TV show sitcom guy that the whole country watched. I liked it. My parents liked it. You talk about it on Monday at the water cooler, whatever the fuck. And then that special came out, and I was like, wow, this is what he really does. This is like his thing, stand up. And the special was so good. I remember watching it sitting on the floor in New Orleans with my mom and dad and my brother, and we're all laughing. And that was big because we had nothing in common. And so that was big that it was like this great equalizer for all of us. And then I saw Bigger and Blacker by Chris Rock, and it just blew my tits off. I didn't know this shit existed. Like, Seinfeld was great and funny and observational, but this was like cutting and interesting and thought-provoking and hilarious. And then I just started going to this deep dive, and I found George Carlin, and it was over. I was like, oh my God, he's just complaining about pussy farts and talking about, race and gay and social stuff. And he was cute and quirky too. Oh, football, you make a touchdown, but in baseball, you go home. I love jokes like that where it's all written for you, but you just found it. And so that was huge. And then I was just, it was over. Like, let's check out Stephen Wright. Let's check out Ellen. Let's check out Mitch Hedberg. Let's check out Geraldo. Let's check out Colin Quinn. And then I was hooked.
It's fantastic, man. Well, I know you have a lot you're doing, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be here today, man. I just wanted to kind of just close by saying, you're one of the best out doing it right now. And I'm really thankful that you took the time to be here and to do this and slim it with me, man. So I really appreciate it.
Mark, I had some, if you've got some extra time and Anthony's done, I would love to ask you, pick your brain about a couple of things. If I got you, why not?
That was a great tag team orgy moment. Like, all right, I just finished, so now I want to get a hand job.
You should have seen us in high school. It was basically the same bit that we were doing. So I had a question about podcasting in general and how you feel like it has the ripple effect that it's had on comedy as a whole. Because I consume a lot of podcasts because I work a tech job, so I just sit here and listen to pods all day. And there seems to be like two camps where it's like people who feel like podcasts have been an incredible boon to the comedy community because it's a new form. You can get it's more open form, and you can still talk to your audience without having to be, like you said, on a stage with a mic, with a show and a host and all that stuff. But I've heard people from the camp that's like, well, now everyone has a podcast, and because they have a podcast, everyone thinks they're a comedian now. So So how do you feel like it's been? Are all the positives of podcasts in the broader audience? Do you think that's been an overall, like I said, boon to the comedy community, or has it diluted things a little bit?
It's a good question there, Jer. I think it's a little of everything. I think it's going to get, the diluting is going to get worse. Now Kevin Hart has a podcast. Podcast used to be a punchline, like, this guy can't get a break, so he started a podcast. Turns out everybody loves podcasts. They like them. Nobody watches late night TV anymore, like Tonight Show and all that. They'd rather listen to a podcast. Conan, his show is over. He does a podcast. Conan O'Brien has a podcast. That's insane.
Right.
Because we're shifting, and we're shifting. It used to be, hey, Channel 3, 7 o'clock, this movie comes on. It was very rigid. It was very like you were chained to the TV. You're chained to that TV guide time schedule. Now it's like, I want to listen to Conan in my ear while I cook a souffle, So it's like, it's convenient. So I think podcasting will always be huge. I remember 10 years ago, I'd go, hey, manager, I'm going to go do this podcast in LA. To go, why? There's no money in it. Come do this. Come make $50. Why would you do a podcast? And I'm like, oh, he's got a point. But now podcast is a way bigger money maker. It just, you don't make any money there. You make money in the back end with the tickets and the whatever. So I think it will become diluted, but I think just like everything else, the cream rises. I mean, how many people play basketball and how many make it to the NBA? There's still millions of people in the world playing basketball. And I think it's to say there's millions of podcasts, but if they're good, people will find it. And that's a fact. So yeah, I think it will be diluted. It already is diluted, but I also think YouTube is where podcasting was 8 years ago. People go, what are you doing with YouTube? There's no money in it. I mean, there's a little 50 cents here and there, but people are going to start their own YouTube channels. And look at this unboxing kid. This Asian kid is six weeks old. He's unboxing the thing. He's got a zillion views. He's talentless. He's got nothing, but people love him.
Yeah, and I think you're right about YouTube. I think it's been interesting to see it shift because, like you said, now that Kevin Hart has a podcast and now that Will Smith is making YouTube videos, now all the corporate sponsorship has come and everybody's starting to, that's where the money's starting to focus. So yeah, I think we're kind of in a transitional period in media right now where there's it feels like it's pretty balanced right now, but it is tipping towards the new media.
Yes, I love it. I love the industry, these gatekeepers. I hope they're shaking in their boots. I hope they're freaking out. And they'll even see, oh, this guy's got 10 million followers on TikTok. Give him a call. It's like, wow, you are fucking out of ideas. Now you're using this guy. Like, bring him to TV. We need him. Yeah. TV used to be like, fuck that guy. He's on his cell phone. We got TV. Now it's flipped. Yeah,
and it seems like, especially because I don't know all the drums and musical equipment behind me. Like, it definitely seems like for comedians and for musicians, there's more opportunity now than there ever was, but it's harder to cut through the noise because there's so much.
I agree. And sometimes a bad thing can even cut through the noise. Like Bill Burr was this great comic, but he wasn't really popped yet. Nobody really knew him. He gets heckled in Philly by an arena of animals.
The 06 bombing. Oh, it's famous.
Yes. And he shits all over him, and it was great. And he thought in his head, this is the end of my career. I'm yelling at these guys. This is not comedy. This is not good. Turns out that's what broke him. So sometimes the thing you think is the worst thing can break you.
That's so real. Definitely true. Yeah, I think, and I had one more question because this is something I was talking to Anthony about a little bit before you jumped on. Because I admire comedians a lot, and I think this is true throughout my whole, like, well, if you want to call it career, no one really pays me, but all the musicians that I know wish that they were comedians, and all the comedians I know, a lot of them wish that they were, rock stars. It's like, oh, I wish I could just play guitar and sing somebody else's music, but I have to come up with my own jokes. And
I never got that.
How do you? And I think it may just be Austin too, specifically because there is such a musician-y vibe around. So maybe it's just the bubble I live in.
I think that's pretty common with comics. Like, I want to be a rock star. I'm like, why? You got to set up a bunch of equipment. You got to wear leather pants and be cool. And I'd rather be myself and write jokes and show up and hit the mic and leave.
But, that's leading me into the question that I was going to ask is, like, how do you balance being yourself and being authentic on stage, but also command the audience? And because especially when you do things that are like self-deprecating or when you're the asshole, how do you balance that between I suck and I'm the worst, but you should still listen to me? How do you strike that balance?
That's a good question. I think that's just repetition and skill and doing it over and over and finding this weird way of being yourself, but also captivating and also commanding a room. And that's just chops. That's just comedy chops. Because, of course, I'd like to go up there and go, hey, everybody, joke 1, joke 2, joke 3. But obviously you can't. You're alone up there. So you got to really bring the heat and find your own ways of being captivating and showing them that you're not boring. And that's a weird little avenue to find, but it just comes through trial and error and failing and going, oh, that didn't work. Let's try it this way. So yeah, staying you, but also being captivating is a challenge. And that's why bad comics tend to suck, or new comics tend to suck, because they haven't learned that yet, which is totally fine.
Fair enough.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we've pretty well covered. I was going to just sit on the sidelines here, but I couldn't help myself. So,
well, thank you so much, Mark. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Hey, thank you guys, and keep rocking. Good questions. Thanks for watching everything and giving a shit. And praise Allah.
Indeed.
Oh, yeah, man.
Well, you have a great weekend, and break a leg out there, and maybe we'll talk again another time.
Hey, you too, folks. I'll see you all in hell.
I'll save a spot for you.
See you in April, man, at the Paramount.
Oh, yeah. Tell a friend, baby. I think we're going to sell that puppy. By the way, can I ask a Texas question?
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys are wide open. No mask, no anal, no jizz. What's it like?
So jizz and anal still very much on the menu, but you're right. Okay. No masks.
Well, we do have a mask mandate till the 10th.
The 10th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then it's up to individual businesses to decide what their rules are going to be.
It seems like most of the Austin spots are still keeping it pretty tight because they generally the Austin sentiment is different than the overall prevailing Texas sentiment around the masks and personal freedom or whatever. But yeah, I've actually I'm closing out a comedy show that the ROMO Room's doing next week, so we're going to see how crazy it is.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know that they've said they're going to do the rest of March mandatory masks, and they're going to reevaluate for April, is what I heard. So
okay.
It'll be interesting to see, where it all lies. But I think as the vaccines get released, I think, people's opinions will change, I'm sure.
Yeah, the vaccine's going to change it all, and selfishly, I'm looking at Texas going, hey, they're doing this. That's their call. And I can't wait to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using it as like an experiment, which sucks for you guys because you're part of the experiment unwillingly. But I'm using it like from an outsider.
Well, it's almost like watching theater because, Greg Abbott picked like Texas Independence Day to make this big announcement, like it was some big statement for, to tell the country. It's like it's ridiculous.
Right. It's like,
and then immediately sets the stage for illegal immigrants to be the reason why the COVID numbers are going to go up. So that's a quintessential Texas politician right there.
Right.
Create a problem and then blame it on brown people. That's what we do here.
Yeah. Hey, it's the American way. Thanks. Good questions, and I'll see you. Thank you. Take it easy. Queef it up.
Take care.
Have a good one, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.